Welcome to this demo of CloudEdge's latest offering called DART. DART stands for Discovery, Assessment, and Rationalization Tool, which gives rich insight and detailed application intelligence on your application landscape to help make informed decisions. Let's take a quick look at how the Dart offering works. It starts by scanning your current landscape of servers, physical servers, or VMs to understand the as-is state. This is a technical discovery of all the application components that are running in this landscape. And it identifies things like relationships, t-shirt sizing, modernization, ROI, and so on. And it further goes on to identify the application relationships with the help of a workshop which is conducted with the application teams to identify the business relationships between these technical application components. This is entirely done with a highly automated flow where lengthy surveys and questionnaires are not required, as well as access to the source code of the application is also not required. It is a dynamic runtime discovery which is executed from the environment where the applications are already running. Let's take a quick look at the Dart platform itself, where the discovery is organized in the form of projects, and projects is basically a grouping of hosts or physical servers. And here you can see project one, which has 40 hosts across Windows, Linux, and AIX, which have been added to the discovery set. When we go inside this project, you will see the master dashboard or the CXO dashboard, as we call it, is loaded, which will give a high level summarization of the landscape. So across 30 VMs, across 40 hosts have been discovered, and 233 app components have been found from this landscape. Further, it also gives the cost saving opportunities in terms of CPU and memory. It gives a prioritization view based on the operating system and its support status. It gives a complexity classification of the components and also based on the type of components, whether it's a Java or a .NET, and whether it's an application server component or a web server component. Based on that, you can start grouping and taking decisions on a group of applications together. As you go further down, you'll see similar distribution for the databases and in-depth topology and dependency map that is automatically generated based on the discovery. And this map gives a view of the whole landscape in a single pane of glass and across various components. So the way to read this is there are hosts which are to the left, then there are components that have been identified, which you see in the middle, and then there are applications that are tagged and identified based on these component relationships that you will see on the right. There is various types of slicing and dicing that you can do based on this relationship, where you can click on a component and see all the details. You can identify what are the egress and ingress points that each of these components are using. You can click on the host to identify what are the hardware, software, and other configurations for the host itself. Further, you can click on each of these components to get an in-depth insight into the components, like what are the components, what are their dependencies, the application servers, any backing services, and so on. And any of the dependencies, for example, JMS, MQ, and other details are also identified right here in this process. We'll see one of the WebLogic examples where you'll see different types of data from the Windows example that I just showed you, where package dependencies, the web application details, the application server details, as well as application configuration. These are things like LDAP or data sources that the application is using. All of these are aggregated per application. And from this, you start identifying the different applications. If there is a relationship that business knows which has not been tagged to a particular business app, then you can also do that from this view itself, where it would generate that map. So what emerges from this exercise is a list of applications that have been identified across those components. And we have defined one business application called Maxima Global, which is a combination of 25 different components that were found. And Here you can do a few things. You can click on the application to identify the components and start filling in the rationalization details. These are things like what is the priority, what are the business goals in modernization, and so on. And you can basically update this information per application so that you get a much richer report in the end. And you can also define the modernization order for these applications. What ultimately results is not just a overall landscape view, but if you click on each of these application, you would get a practitioner's report, which is a practitioner view of each individual application. So this was Maxima Global that we just saw, and these data points are pertaining only to this application. This topology is pertaining only to the Maxima Global application and all of its dependencies. All of this has been generated by the automated discovery. And if you see all of the component listing here, you can also drill down and it would give you details like recommendations for modernization of that component and a detailed attribute list of what has been found for that component, including the network connections, bindings, ports, dependencies, and so on. So this is the level of insight that is useful for a practitioner when they want to decide on the modernization or want to actually modernize these applications. As a next step, this modernization can also be further automated using CloudEdge's other offering called OmniDeck, and you can see those comparisons right here in this chart where it compares the effort to do a modernization using OmniDeck versus doing it manually without OmniDeck. So that can be covered in a separate video where we will cover the OmniDeck demo. But that is the ideal starting point for any modernization engagement, any application assessment engagement, no matter where the customer is in their modernizing journey. It becomes ideal fit with its non-intrusive method as well as minimal requirement of the application owner's time. So with that, we would close this demo of Dart. Thank you for your time.